Welcome to the Flagler Museum. This is absolutely one of the most exciting places to visit when you're here in the Palm Beaches. Built back in 1902 by Henry Flagler as a gift for his wife. 75 rooms, over 100,000 square feet of Gilded Age excellence. Let's head in and take a look. Thanks again for tuning into Passport to the Palm Beaches. I'm your host, Jacqueline Journey, and I'm here with the Executive Director, John Blades, of the gorgeous Flagler Museum. This place is so incredible, it's worth a visit. In fact, worth multiple visits.
Indeed.
So for those people who aren't familiar with Henry Flagler and all that he did for the state of Florida in particular, give us a little brief history of who he was and why he was so critical to our history here in Florida.
Well, I should say that before he even came to Florida, Flagler was an incredible business person who was a founding partner in Standard Oil, the most profitable corporation in the world, and it remained so for over a century. That's a record that'll never be equaled. He was their legal mind. He figured out how to create the trust system which allowed them to do business nationwide. He handled their mergers and acquisitions, and it made him quite wealthy. But at some point in his mid-50s, he decided he'd rather pursue other interests and was familiar with Florida and thought there was an opportunity here that wouldn't be realized unless he personally got involved. So in a very real sense, he invented modern Florida. He created a transportation system that runs the length of the state. He promoted agriculture and tourism as the mainstays of the economy, and they are today still. And so the state he found in the late 19th century may have been the poorest state in the nation, but this past year I think our gross domestic product in Florida exceeded that of the entire country of Mexico. So he really laid the foundation for making Florida what it is today.
So he originally built this place for his wife, is that correct?
Well, in a sense he did. He'd been dating his wife. He met her in Newport, and he wasn't going to build her a house that wasn't going to compare well with what she'd been seeing in Newport. His tradition, his habit was to give the deed of any home he built to his wife as a way of making her feel secure and financially stable. So he did that with all of his homes, and he did that with Whitehall as well. The house itself was built as their home here in Palm Beach.
Very much part of the Gilded Age, and I think at that time this was sort of the pinnacle of that. And he really created not only the tourism but the season here in Palm Beach, where all of the other people who were very successful at that time started building homes here as well.
So in Palm Beach what he created was not just a seasonal counterpoint but a social counterpoint. Palm Beach has always been, because of the way Flagler established it, about what you've done lately. And as a consequence, Palm Beach is constantly reinventing itself. Everyone is welcome here, provided they really want to be a part of the community and make the effort. So what they built here was something very different from all of his other homes. What they built here was really sort of response to Andrew Carnegie's admonition in his Gospel of Wealth that these titans of business should have at least one house that is really a home for all that's highest and best in literature and the arts, because that was a way of elevating our society. So in a sense, this was built to project the aspirations of American culture at the time. We try to create an open environment here with self-guided tours in printed form in a number of different languages, audio tours in several languages. But we want people to really wander through the building and be able to be contemplative, to really take in what they're seeing, to try to understand what this place is about and what the messaging is here. And the messaging is, this is about arts and literature and about our society really become all that it could be, and us as individuals becoming all that we could be as individuals. So it's supposed to inspire us to want to be that. Every room of this first floor in particular has some special features to it. So the architects really pulled out all the stops. They wanted to make every room special in some way and different from any other home of this period in some way. So, for example, the dining room was made of solid satin wood. It's the most elaborate satin wood room ever built in the Western Hemisphere, probably in the world. You can't even get enough satin wood to build anything anymore of any size, and yet we have an entire room with a giant fireplace made of solid satin wood. So that's a really special room. Or the drawing room is leafed in aluminum leaf because aluminum was such a magic metal to them at this time in history, and for most of Flagler's life, aluminum was more expensive than platinum or gold. It's like that throughout the building. It's really filled with messaging and symbolism and special features and materials that you won't find anyplace else. One of the miracles of this building is that we've been able to repatriate the major contents to the point where if Flagler could come back today, I think he'd be surprised at how little had changed. What I hope our visitors walk away with is a sense that they may have visited other places like the Frick Collection or the Newport Mansions or even Hearst Castle, but they didn't really get an understanding of what these buildings are about until they came to visit Whitehall. I hope our visitors walk away with some sense of why you build a place like this, what it means, why we want to preserve it, and how it'll, I think, continue to help inform our thinking in the future.
We're here in the Grand Hall of the Flagler Museum in front of Henry Flagler himself. I'm here with David Carson, Public Affairs Director, and I understand, David, you're going to give us a private tour with some interesting facts about some of the greatest rooms in the museum.
Yes, let's do that. Let's take a tour, and every room has its own little story to it.
Before we do that though, real quick, you've been here for many years, and tell us a little bit about your history with the Flagler.
I started here in 2007, and here we are today. I'm still here. I find that even though I've been here a long time, every day I still see something new that I hadn't noticed before. So it's just a never-ending story here.
Beautiful. Well, he's going to give us some of the highlights.
Well, this is the drawing room. This is the room that Mary Lily Keenan Flagler would meet and greet and entertain female guests, visitors and friends. The room was designed specifically for the ladies, so it has a much more feminine look than any of the other rooms in the house. It's the only room that is finished with aluminum leaf as opposed to gold leaf. And Henry Flagler felt that the aluminum leaf had a softer finish to it, and so he thought this room would be best trimmed in this aluminum leaf. An interesting element is that the Art Case Model B Steinway grand piano has the same aluminum leaf finish as the walls. It was commissioned from Steinway specifically to fit into this room. The oak parquet flooring here in the drawing room has a motif in it which is known as the Greek key. If you look at that square spiral, the design is made purely from the color and the grain of the wood. So that's quite an intricate design in its own right. But as you move through the room, you'll see how it changes. So this is the formal dining room of Whitehall, and the dining table and chair set is original to the house. In fact, this piece, the dining room table and chairs, had disappeared for a number of years and had recently returned to the museum. So it's back in its original location. All of the ceilings in Whitehall look quite intricate. For example, this looks like carved wood with gold leaf trim. Now there's no wood up there at all. All the ceilings are molded plaster and then painted to look like wood. And the dining room fireplace is designed or carved with food-related items such as fruits and crabs, seafood, all sorts of food-related items in the carvings of the fireplace. The green rug here in the dining room is original to the room, and it was made specifically to fit in this room. The oak parquet flooring is recessed just a ¼ inch, and it's the same size as the rug, so that the rug, the green woolen rug, unfolds and fits precisely into the recessed oak parquet flooring. The house went through 3 distinct phases in its life. Private home, 1902 until 1924. Then it was a club for 1 year. Then it operated as the Whitehall Hotel from 1925 to 1959, when Jean Flagler Matthews, Henry's granddaughter, bought it from the failing hotel, the Whitehall Hotel, and she founded the private non-profit organization that is the Henry Morrison Flagler Museum, founded in 1959, opened to the public in February 1960. This is the music room. The music room is designed in the Louis XIV style, and it's designed to emulate European opera houses of that period. It's the best example of the original lighting in the house. These are Baccarat crystal chandeliers imported from France. And at the far end of the music room, you'll see the Odell organ. The organ has 1,249 pipes behind the facade. It still works today. We play it every summertime on Sunday afternoons. Henry Flagler was an acquaintance of Louis Comfort Tiffany, and there's one piece of artwork here that's a piece painted by Louis Comfort Tiffany and given to Henry Flagler. So we're just entering the South Hall here at Whitehall. The ceiling of the South Hall is designed to emulate St. Mark's in Rome. While it's much smaller, I understand that the design is the same, so emulates St. Mark's in Rome, the ceiling. This is the Whitehall courtyard. The fountain in the center emulates the same fountain in Boboli Gardens in Italy. So this is the Flagler Keenan Pavilion, and this was built specifically to house and protect Henry Flagler's private railcar number 91.
Driving my car, going away, here's another road, another bridge, oh, going on.
So this is railcar number 91, Henry Flagler's private railcar. It was built in 1886 by the Jackson and Sharp Company, and it was one of at least three private railcars that Henry Flagler owned. And in fact, this railcar was part of the very first train to arrive in Key West after the completion of the Oversea Railroad. Henry Flagler rode this train down to Key West on January the 22nd, 1912. And 10,000 people came out to welcome him. He really changed their lives down in the Keys on completion of the Oversea Railroad. He spent 7 years building 156 miles of track from Miami to Key West.
We're going to wrap it up where it all began, right here in Henry Flagler's railcar. Thank you again so much to everyone at the Flagler, including, of course, David and John, who gave us this fabulous private tour. We'll see you again next time for more Passport to the Palm Beaches.
Driving my car, going away, here's another road.